Hi everyone! In this episode we'll go through the intonation setup of an electric guitar. If you've missed the other episodes about adjusting the truss rod and setting up the string action, check out these videos first. This episode includes a short theory on intonation, a walkthrough and a troubleshooting guide if one of your strings is still sharp after the intonation process. If you want to skip certain parts, there are chapters in the timeline you could use to navigate this video. This is Rina and you're watching Bandforge. Intonation is a musical term which characterizes the pitch accuracy of an instrument. In our case, it's how well in tune our electric guitar sounds when the open strings are tuned correctly and we play a note in higher positions. The intonation needs to be dialed in every time you change the string gauge, material or even the brand. So it's worth investing a little time to learn the skill. This is your guitar's neck. Theoretically, the position of the 12th fret has to be exactly in the middle of the string, since dividing a string in half, that is tuned to a low E, will then result in its octave, and in this case, the high E note. In reality, this is not entirely true because we are slightly bending the string towards the fretboard when we play the octave. And on top of that, every string has its own gauge and tension, which have to be considered as well. This is why a typical look of an adjusted bridge has usually a resemblance with this. You can see that the saddles are following a pattern which starts over where the first unwound string is located. If your string is in tune when played open, but flat or lower when played on the 12th fret, the string is too long and has to be made shorter. You can achieve that by loosening the adjustment screw like this. On the other hand, if a string is in tune when played open, but sharp, so higher, when played on the 12th fret, the string is too short and has to be made longer. So tighten the adjustment screw, but before doing so, tune the string down a little because you don't want too much tension on the string. If you don't do that, you could strip the screw or break the string that, in worst case, could injure your eye. After the adjustment, retune the string. If this is still a little confusing, don't worry. We'll do a walkthrough in a second, and on top of that, you can download my intonation cheat sheet. You can find the link in the description below. In order to set up the intonation, you'll need a screwdriver that fits the string length adjustment screw, which you can see here. For the Fender style bridges, this is a Phillips head screwdriver. So this is what I'm going to be using for my Squier Affinity Telecaster. For tunematic bridges, like this one, you'll need a flathead screwdriver. The other tool that is essential is a tuner. Of course, there are differences in the tuning accuracy, but given this is the first time you're dialing in your guitar's intonation, every tuner is fine. Even a simple app for your smartphone. Optionally, a measuring tape and some masking tape or a ruler can be helpful, but not required. Bring your guitar into a playing position and prepare your tuner. The quality of the tuner you're using will have an impact on the results, but even if your setting is 10 cents off, it will still sound a lot better than no adjustment. I'll be using a headstock polytune in strobe mode. Don't be confused by the term strobe mode. The polytune is not a strobe tuner, but the strobe mode will give us more accuracy with the reading. In general, you should make yourself familiar with your tuner. So read the manual. Don't worry, usually these are pretty short. And find out what to do in order to get the highest precision. If you want more information about different tuning methods and tuners, please let me know in the comments below. The last thing we want to do before we can start is lowering the neck and middle pickups, if applicable. This eliminates any issue with magnetic interference. In case you are happy with the sound of your guitar, it makes sense to measure the pickup's distance to the strings and write it down so you can adjust it back as it was once you're done with the intonation setup. Keep in mind that you have to measure at both sides of the pickup because they can be adjusted individually. For lazy people, the quickest method is putting a little bit of tape right where the pickup is on both ends as a marker. If you wanted to adjust the pickup height anyway, and this is what we'll do in the next episode, don't bother with the measuring and just lower them. Tune all the strings of your guitar. When you do this, it's good practice to always tune up and never down. If you went too far with the tuning, simply tune lower than the tone you want to achieve and tune up from there. This method gives you the best tuning stability, so you should get accustomed to it. And also check the tuning when your fingers are not touching the tuners anymore. The second tip is to gently strum the strings with your thumb instead of using a pick. You'll instantly understand why when you take a look at the tuner while I'm hitting the string overly hard with a pick. You can even hear that the tone starts sharp and ends in tune. The next step is to gently play the 12th fret of a low E string. If it is the same note, only an octave higher, double check your tuning, and if it still is, you're done with the string. If the fretted note is too high, so sharp, tune the string down a little bit and tighten the string length adjustment screw to make your string longer. Retune the string and repeat the procedure until both the open and the fretted note are in tune. If the fretted note is too low, so flat, loosen the string length adjustment screw in order to make the string shorter. There's no need to tune the string down before that because we'll reduce the tension of the string in this case. Retune the string and check how the adjustment went. Sometimes the saddles can get stuck a little bit, and at first glance you can see any change when checking the fretted versus the open note. In order to prevent this from happening, you can either push the screw head towards the bridge or even hit the saddles with the back of your screwdriver. By the way, this process is the same for floating bridges or even Floyd Rose tremolos as it is for fixed bridges. Sometimes you reach the end of the bridge with the saddle, but the tone on the 12th fret is still too high, so sharp. There are several things that can work here, but first check if your bridge is installed correctly on the body. There are tons of building plans on the internet which have all measurements you need, so quickly Google it. A bridge that is not in the right position would usually cause more trouble than just with the intonation and should be fixed professionally. This includes removing the bridge, closing the holes and drilling correct ones. And then, of course, reattaching the bridge. If your bridge position is fine though, here are some tips for fixing the problem. On a Tune-O-Matic bridge, which is typically installed on Gibson style guitars, you can flip the saddles around for more room to adjust. So check if turning a saddle makes sense. Push the string down right where the saddle ends. Sometimes this can save you a huge headache. Tighten the truss rod for a 1/16th to an 1/8 of a turn. This can help if the gap between the string and the frets at the 12th fret is too big. Also, recheck your string action. For detailed information, take a look at these two videos. If really nothing of the above worked and you still prefer keeping your brand of strings, gauge and material, what could solve the problem actually, take off the saddle and sand it down until the setting can be dialed in. Be careful and don't remove too much material. That's all for the intonation adjustment. Please consider subscribing so you won't miss the next episode about setting up the pickup height. Have a great weekend and see you next week. Bye!